Ethan and Noah can share, Mason said, already grinning. They basically act married anyway. My hand tightened around the tent bag before I could stop it. Not a lot. Just enough that the nylon strap cut into my palm. Nobody noticed. Of course they didn't. Everyone was too busy laughing, dragging coolers out of the back of Tyler's truck, arguing over who forgot the lighter, and acting like Mason hadn't just thrown a live grenade into my chest. Noah looked over at me from the other side of the campsite, one hand in the pocket of his hoodie, his baseball cap turned backward like it always was when he was relaxed. He smiled like sharing a tent with me was nothing, like it was normal, like I hadn't spent the last 8 months trying to stop thinking about him in ways best friends were not supposed to think about each other. "You good with that?" he called. I forced a laugh. "Yeah. Why wouldn't I be?" Bad answer. Too fast. Noah's smile shifted a little, like he heard something under it. But then Tyler dropped a duffel bag on his foot and started yelling, and the moment broke. I told myself that was good. I needed broken moments. I needed distractions. That was the whole reason I agreed to this stupid camping trip in the first place. 3 days in the mountains. No work. No texts from people I didn't want to answer. No sitting in my apartment at midnight wondering why Noah had touched my shoulder for 2 seconds longer than necessary. Just 5 guys, too much beer, a fire pit, and enough bad decisions to make Monday feel far away. At least, that was the plan. The problem was Noah had ridden up with me. 2.5 hours in my passenger seat. Knee bouncing, playlist changing every 5 minutes, stealing fries from the bag between us like he owned them. At one point, he reached over to wipe ketchup off my thumb with a napkin because apparently I was eating like a raccoon. It meant nothing. I told myself that so many times on the drive that the words started sounding fake. Noah was just like that. Easy, physical, comfortable in his own body in a way that made everyone else comfortable too. He bumped shoulders. He leaned close when he laughed. He remembered what coffee I liked and pretended it was because I was predictable. He made normal things annoying. "Ethan." I blinked. Noah was suddenly in front of me, holding 2 tent poles and looking amused. "You planning to build this thing with your mind?" Or, I was supervising. "Terrible job so far." He stepped closer and handed me one of the poles. Our fingers brushed. Barely anything. A stupid, accidental touch. Still, my stomach pulled tight. I looked down too quickly. He didn't. I could feel him watching me for a second before he turned toward the flat patch of dirt near the trees. "Come on. Before Mason decides we're sleeping in the truck." We set up the tent while the others fought with the firewood. Noah kept making dumb comments under his breath, just for me. How Tyler packed like a divorced dad. How Cole looked like he was one mosquito away from calling the cops. I laughed because I always laughed with him. That was the dangerous part. With Noah, things always felt normal right up until they didn't. When the tent finally stood, small and low and way too private, he ducked inside to toss our bags in. Then he looked back at me through the open flap. Cozy. My chest tightened. That's one word for it. His eyes stayed on mine a second too long. Not enough to call out. Enough to ruin me. Then Mason yelled from the fire pit. "Lovebirds, quit decorating your honeymoon suite and help us before Tyler burns down Colorado." Everyone laughed again. I laughed too. I had to. Noah crawled out, brushing dirt off his jeans, and bumped his shoulder into mine as he passed. "Ignore him." "I am." "You're not." I looked at him. He was smiling, but softer now. Like he knew. Like maybe he could see straight through the joke, straight through me. For 1 second, the whole campsite felt too quiet. Then he looked away first. "Come on, best friend," he said, voice lighter again. "Let's go save dinner." Best friend. Right. That was what we were. That was all we were supposed to be. But when he walked ahead of me toward the fire, hoodie shifting across his shoulders, I already knew this trip wasn't going to help me get over him. It was going to make everything worse. By the time the fire finally caught, Tyler was taking full credit for it, even though Noah had been the one quietly fixing the kindling behind him. "You are all welcome," Tyler announced, holding up both hands like he had discovered electricity. Cole stared at the tiny flame. "It is fire, not a medical breakthrough." Mason tossed a bag of hot dog buns at him. Let the man have his wilderness moment. I laughed from my camping chair, trying very hard to act like my brain was not still stuck on the word cozy. The tent sat maybe 20 feet behind us, zipped halfway open, our bags inside like proof that the sleeping arrangement was real. 1 tent, 2 sleeping bags. Mine and Noah's. It should not have mattered. We had crashed on couches before, shared hotel rooms on road trips, fallen asleep during movie nights with his foot shoved against my leg because Noah had no sense of personal space. But a tent was different. A tent was dark, quiet, too small to pretend distance existed. Noah dropped into the chair beside mine, with a paper plate balanced on one knee. "You want mustard?" "No," he paused, already holding a packet out. "You always say no, then steal mine." I hated that he knew that. I hated more that he was right. "Fine." I reached for it, and he pulled it back just enough to make me miss. "Use your words, Miller." My face got warm before I could stop it. Mason made a choking noise from across the fire. "Did we interrupt something?" "Yes," I shot back. "The world's worst condiment hostage situation." Noah laughed and finally handed it over. His fingers brushed mine again, and this time, it was not quick enough. Or maybe I was just noticing too much. That was always the problem with him. Nothing was big enough to accuse him of. Everything was small enough to haunt me later. After dinner, the temperature dropped fast. The kind of mountain cold that slipped under your sleeves and made everybody suddenly respect jackets. I was digging through my backpack for my flannel when Noah leaned over without a word and draped his extra hoodie across my lap. Dark blue, soft from being washed too many times. "I have one." I held up the flannel like evidence. Noah looked at it, then at me. "That thing is basically paper." "It is not." "Ethan." "Just my name." Low, amused, too familiar. My throat went a little dry. I put the hoodie on because arguing would have made it weirder. It smelled like campfire smoke already, and something clean underneath. Soap, maybe. "Noah." I stared at the fire like it had personally offended me. "Better." His shoulder bumped mine. "You were doing that thing." "What thing?" "Pretending you are not cold because you think suffering quietly counts as a personality." I should have had a comeback. I usually did. Instead, I looked over at him and caught him already watching me. Not laughing. Not fully. His expression had softened in a way that made my chest feel too tight for the thin mountain air. For a second, neither of us said anything. The others were loud right beside us, but it felt like they had moved miles away. Then Mason stood up and clapped once. Truth or dare later. Nobody gets to sleep early. Noah looked away first, smiling like nothing had happened. I told myself it meant nothing. A hoodie. A look. A dumb joke. Best friends did stuff like that. Best friends shared tents. Best friends noticed when you were cold. But later, when I crawled into the tent and saw our sleeping bags laid out side by side, close enough that our elbows would touch if either of us moved wrong, my stomach dropped all over again. Noah ducked in behind me, zipped the flap, and grinned in the dim light. "See?" His voice was quiet now. "Cozy." And that was when I realized the hardest part of this trip was not going to be hiding how I felt from everyone else. It was going to be hiding it from him. "Biggest secret you have never told anyone." Cole said it like he was asking who wanted the last beer, casual and bored, but my whole body went cold. The fire cracked between us. Sparks lifted into the dark. For 1 second, nobody moved. Then Mason leaned forward with the kind of grin that made every bad idea worse. "Oh, that is a good one." Tyler groaned. "We are not doing emotional damage on night one." "Speak for yourself." Mason pointed his drink at Noah. "Brooks, you first." Noah had been sitting close enough that his knee brushed mine every time he shifted. Not pressed there. Not obvious. Just close. Too close for how normal he looked. He leaned back in his chair, one ankle hooked over the other, face lit orange by the fire. "Why me?" "Because you look like you have secrets." I looked tired. Same thing after 25. Everyone laughed. I tried to laugh too, but my mouth felt dry. "Biggest secret." Easy. Mine was sitting right beside me wearing the same hoodie I had borrowed less than an hour ago. Mine knew my coffee order, my bad moods, the exact tone I used when I was pretending to be fine. Mine bumped his shoulder into mine like it meant nothing, and maybe for him it did. Noah stared into the fire for a while, longer than a joke needed. The laughter faded a little. Then he rubbed his thumb over the label on his bottle and shrugged. "I almost told someone something once." Mason blinked. "That is the worst answer I have ever heard. You asked for a secret, not a TED Talk. What were you going to tell them?" Tyler leaned in, suddenly interested. Noah's eyes flicked toward me. Just for a second. So quick I could have imagined it. Except my chest tightened like my body had already decided I had not. "That they mattered more than I wanted them to," he said quietly. The fire popped. Nobody made a joke right away. That was the problem. A joke would have saved me. A loud laugh, a dumb comment, anything. But for one weird second, the whole group went silent, and Noah did not look away from the flames. My heartbeat started getting stupid. I told myself not to be dramatic. That could have been about anyone. Some girl from work. Someone from college. Someone I had never met. Normal people had pasts. Normal people did not hear one vague sentence and build an entire hope around it. Mason finally broke the silence. Okay, that was weirdly hot and sad. Tyler threw a bottle cap at him. Do not flirt with his trauma. Noah laughed then, but it sounded lighter than his face looked. I kept my eyes on my hands. Bad move. I was still wearing his hoodie. The sleeves covered half my fingers. Like I needed another reminder. Ethan. My stomach dropped before I even looked up. Cole was watching me from across the fire, his expression too calm. Cole was the quiet one. The dangerous one. He noticed things other people missed and pretended he did not. Your turn. No, my voice came out too fast. Tyler immediately pointed at me. That means it is good. It means I am not drunk enough. You do not have to answer. Noah said it before anyone else could push. Not loud. Not dramatic. But firm enough that Mason's grin faded a little. I turned toward him. Noah was looking at Cole now, jaw relaxed but eyes steady. Protective. Too protective. Relax, man, Mason muttered. We are joking. Noah picked at the edge of his bottle label. I know, but his knee shifted closer to mine under the chair. A tiny touch, hidden by the firelight, and everyone else's noise starting up again. I should have moved. I did not. Cole's gaze dropped for half a second, just low enough to see it. Then he looked back at me like he had found the corner of a secret. My pulse jumped. The conversation moved on, but I barely heard it. Noah stayed close. His knee still against mine. His hoodie still on my body. His almost confession still sitting between us like smoke I could not wave away. I told myself it meant nothing. I told myself he was just being a good friend. But when the fire burned lower and everyone started laughing again, Noah leaned slightly toward me without looking over. You okay? My throat tightened. Yeah. A pause. Then, softer, you are lying. I stared at the flames, because looking at him would have been a mistake. Maybe the worst part was that he knew me that well. Or maybe the worst part was that I wanted him to. Noah did not ask again in front of everyone. That somehow made it worse. He just stayed beside me until the fire got low and Tyler started yawning into his sleeve like an old man. Mason kept trying to restart the game, but nobody had the energy left for more secrets. Thank God. I stood too fast when Cole got up to grab another log. My chair scraped the dirt, louder than it needed to. I am going to get some air. We are outside, Mason mumbled. More air. I walked away before anyone could make it a group activity. The campsite thinned out behind me, voices fading under the sound of crickets and wind dragging through the pine trees. I stopped near the edge of the lake, close enough to see the fire reflected in broken orange pieces across the water. I pulled Noah's hoodie tighter around me and hated how much comfort that gave me. I just needed 5 minutes. 5 minutes without his knee against mine. Without Cole watching me like he knew. Without everyone laughing about things that were starting to feel less like jokes and more like warning signs. A twig snapped behind me. I did not turn around. I already knew. You really do that every time, Noah murmured. Do what? Disappear when something gets too real. I let out a quiet laugh, but it did not sound right. Maybe I just like lakes. At midnight. Very underrated time for lakes. He came to stand beside me, close but not touching. That was almost worse. His hands were tucked into his jacket pockets, shoulders slightly hunched against the cold. For a while, neither of us talked. The silence felt different out there. Not awkward. Heavy. Like it was waiting for one of us to mess up. Noah glanced at me, then at his hoodie. You were keeping that, by the way. I am not stealing your hoodie. You already did. You put it on me. His mouth twitched. Yeah, I know. I looked over too quickly. His face was half shadowed, but I could still see the way he was watching me. Not teasing now. Not performing for the group. Just Noah, quiet and too close, seeing more than I wanted him to. My chest tightened. Why did you stop them? At the fire? I nodded. He looked down, scuffing the toe of his sneaker against the dirt. Because you looked like you were about to bolt. I was fine. Ethan. There it was again. My name like he did not believe me because he knew better. I swallowed and looked back at the water. You do not always have to read me like that. I am not trying to. His voice dropped a little. I just noticed. That hit harder than it should have. I laughed once, soft and nervous, because I did not know what else to do. Maybe stop noticing. Noah turned toward me fully then. Do you want me to? I should have said yes. A normal yes. A safe yes. Something that kept us on the side of friendship where things still made sense. But his eyes were on mine, and the lake was quiet, and I was wearing his hoodie, and for one stupid second I forgot how to lie. No. The word came out barely above a breath. Noah went still. Completely still. Like he had heard it, but needed a second to survive it. My pulse slammed in my throat. I opened my mouth to fix it, laugh it off, turn it into something else, but nothing came out. He moved first. Not much. Just his hand, slow, careful, like he was giving me every chance to step away. His fingers brushed the back of mine. Once. A question more than a touch. I stopped breathing. He looked down at our hands, then back at me. Ethan, my name sounded different that time. Too soft. Too dangerous. I should have pulled away. Instead, my fingers shifted closer to his. Not holding. Not yet. Just close enough that the space between us felt ridiculous. Noah's thumb touched mine for half a second. My whole body reacted like it meant everything. Behind us, Mason's voice cut through the dark. Yo, lovebirds. If you get eaten by a bear, I am taking your beer. Noah pulled his hand back so fast it almost hurt. I stepped away too, heat rushing up my neck. For a second, we just stared at each other, caught and not caught at the same time. Then Noah forced a laugh toward the campsite. Shut up, Mason. But when he looked back at me, the smile was gone. And I knew we had not crossed the line. Not really. But we had both seen exactly where it was. The walk back to camp felt longer than it should have. Noah stayed beside me, but not close enough for our hands to brush again. That tiny new distance made my chest ache in a way I hated. Like we had both realized touching was possible and immediately got scared of what that meant. Mason was waiting by the fire with the smug face of a man who had never once minded his own business. There they are. Tyler lifted his head from where he was half asleep in a camping chair. Did the bear reject you? Bear had standards, I muttered. Mason pointed between me and Noah. You two look guilty. My stomach dropped. Noah laughed, too quick. Of what? Enjoying lake air. At midnight, Mason said, dragging out the words. Together. Cole did not say anything. That was worse. He just sat on the cooler with his elbows on his knees, watching the fire like he was not listening to every word. Noah grabbed a bottle of water from the table and twisted the cap harder than necessary. You are bored. I am observant. Mason leaned back, grinning. There is a difference. I forced myself to sit down. My hands were cold, so I shoved them into the front pocket of Noah's hoodie. Bad idea. Mason noticed that too. Of course he did. Nice hoodie, Ethan. Heat climbed up my neck. I was cold. Sure. He was cold. Noah cut in, sharper this time. Not angry, exactly. Protective in that way that made everyone look at him for half a second. Even me. Mason raised both hands. Relax, husband number 2. I am joking. Nobody laughed as hard as they should have. The silence was small, but I felt it. Noah looked away first, jaw tight, and something in me sank. Because jokes were only safe when everyone believed they were impossible. Once they got too close to the truth, they stopped feeling like jokes. Tyler cleared his throat and stood up. I am going to sleep before this turns into a group therapy session. Coward. Mason called after him, but the energy had already shifted. People started moving around, closing coolers, kicking dirt over the edge of the fire, collecting empty cans. I tried to help. Mostly I needed something to do with my hands. Cole came up beside me while I was tying the trash bag. Quiet as always. You okay? I looked at him too fast. Yeah. What? His eyes flicked toward Noah, who was across the campsite talking to Tyler near the tents. No reason. Cole. He shrugged, but his face stayed serious. Mason jokes about everybody. But with you too, it lands different. My grip tightened around the plastic bag. It does not. Okay. That was all he said. Okay. Like he was letting me lie because calling me out would be cruel. I hated how gentle it sounded. I tied the bag so hard the plastic stretched. There is nothing going on. Cole glanced at me. Not accusing. Just careful. I did not say there was. My stomach twisted. Across the camp, Noah laughed at something Tyler said. Tyler shoved him lightly, and Noah caught his arm to keep him from tripping over a tent stake. Just a normal touch. Friendly. Easy. But after what almost happened by the lake, it hit wrong. Tyler grinned up at him. Damn, Brooks. Boyfriend reflexes. Noah smiled, but he did not look at me. He did not deny it either. My chest went tight, stupid and sudden. I knew I had no right to feel anything. Noah was allowed to touch people. He was allowed to joke. He was allowed to not spend every second proving I was not losing my mind. Still, I turned away before he could catch my face. Cole noticed that too. I could feel it. Ethan, I am tired. My voice came out flat. Long day. He let the lie sit there between us. Sure. I carried the trash toward the bare box, needing space, needing air, needing not to be seen so clearly by everyone except the one person I wanted to see me. But when I turned back, Noah was watching me from across the campsite. Not smiling anymore. Not confused either. Hurt. Like my pulling away had answered a question he had not asked out loud. And that scared me more than Mason's jokes, more than Cole's quiet suspicion, more than Tyler's stupid comment. Because for the first time, it felt like my secret was not just mine anymore. The rain started sometime after midnight. Not dramatic at first. Just a few soft taps against the tent, light enough that I thought I imagined it. Then the wind shifted, the trees moved hard, and suddenly the whole campsite sounded awake. I had not been sleeping anyway. I was lying on my back inside the tent, staring at the dark ceiling inches above us, trying not to think about Noah breathing beside me, trying not to think about his hand near mine by the lake, trying not to think about the way he had looked hurt when I pulled away earlier. The sleeping bags were close. Too close. Every time he moved, the nylon whispered. Every time I moved, I wondered if he noticed. Of course he noticed. Noah noticed everything about me. Except the one thing I had spent months trying to hide, apparently. Or maybe he had noticed that too. A stronger gust shook the tent, and I heard Tyler yell from somewhere outside. If this thing floods, I am haunting all of you. Mason yelled something back, muffled and half asleep. I almost laughed. Almost. Then Noah shifted beside me. You awake? His voice was low, rough from not sleeping. I kept my eyes on the tent roof. No, a quiet breath of laughter. Convincing. Silence settled again, but it was not peaceful. It felt like there was something sitting between us, pressing harder every second. Noah turned onto his side. I could feel him looking at me even in the dark. You have been weird since the fire. My stomach tightened. I am always weird. Not like that. Rain hit harder now, quick little bursts against the fabric. I swallowed. I was tired. Ethan. I closed my eyes. That tone again. Soft, but not letting me run. What? Did I do something? The question landed wrong. Too honest. Too careful. I turned my head toward him before I could stop myself. I could barely see his face, just the shape of him in the dim gray light leaking through the tent. No, then why did you pull away from me? My throat went dry. I almost made a joke. I almost said something about Mason, or the cold, or needing sleep. But Noah sounded too real for that. So I said the safest truth I had. Because everyone keeps watching us. He was quiet for a second. And that bothers you. It should not. That is not what I asked. I let out a shaky breath and looked away. I do not know. The rain filled the silence. I heard him move closer, just a little. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth of him beside me. When Mason says stuff, Noah murmured. You look like you want to disappear. My chest hurt. Because he makes everything sound like a joke. Maybe it is not always a joke. I stopped breathing. Noah did too, I think. The tent felt smaller than before. The rain got louder. My hand was outside my sleeping bag, resting between us, and after a long second, his fingers brushed mine. Not by accident this time. He did it slowly, like he was scared I might move away again. I did not. His thumb touched the side of my hand, gentle and unsure. Noah Brooks, unsure. That almost broke me. Noah. My voice barely worked. Do not say it like that. Like what? Like I am doing something wrong. His fingers stayed there, warm against mine. You are not. Another pause. Then, quieter. I did not want you to leave earlier. My heart kicked hard. By the lake. Yeah. He breathed out, almost annoyed with himself. When Mason yelled, I was relieved because I got scared. But I was also mad because I wanted one more second. I turned toward him fully now. The darkness made it easier and harder at the same time. One more second for what? Noah did not answer right away. His fingers slipped between mine. Not tight. Just enough to be real. To find out if I was the only one feeling it. My chest tightened so fast it almost hurt. I had spent so long convincing myself this was one-sided that hearing him say anything close to that made my whole brain go quiet. You are not, I whispered. Noah's hand tightened around mine. Outside. Somebody cursed at the rain, and a cooler lid slammed shut in the wind. Normal things. Camping things. The world kept going like nothing had happened. But inside that tent, Noah looked at me in the dark and did not let go. Good, he said, barely above the rain. Because I do not think I can go back to pretending this is normal. And that was the first time I understood the scariest part was not that I wanted him. It was that he might have been wanting me back. The next morning, everything looked normal. That was the problem. Rainwater dripped from the pine branches. Tyler stood near the fire pit in wet socks, accusing Mason of packing the world's cheapest tent. Cole was trying to make coffee on the little camp stove with the focus of a man performing surgery. And Noah was across the campsite, laughing at something Tyler said, like he had not held my hand in the dark and quietly ruined my ability to breathe. I watched him for maybe half a second too long. Then I looked away. Too late. Cole caught it. Of course he did. He handed me a tin mug of coffee and kept his voice low. Rough night. I nearly burned my tongue. It rained. That is not what I meant. My stomach tightened. I stared into the coffee like it had answers. Nothing happened. Cole nodded once, slow. You keep saying things before I accuse you of anything. That shut me up. Across the campsite, Noah glanced over at me. Our eyes met. For 1 second, I felt it again. His fingers between mine. His voice in the dark. I do not think I can go back to pretending this is normal. Then Mason clapped his hands. Hike in 20. Nobody be dramatic. Tyler raised one soaked sock. Too late. Everyone laughed. Noah started walking toward me, but I panicked. Not obviously. Just enough. I turned toward the cooler and pretended to search for something I did not need. I heard his steps slow behind me. Then stop. My chest hurt immediately. Great. Perfect. I was already ruining it. The hike was supposed to help. Fresh air. Moving around. No tiny tent. No darkness. No chance for either of us to say something we could not take back. But Noah stayed behind me most of the trail, quieter than usual, and somehow that made everything worse. Normally he would bump my shoulder, make dumb comments, steal trail mix from my pocket. Instead, he kept distance. Polite distance. Friend distance. I hated it, even though I was the one who had created it. Halfway up the trail, Tyler slipped on a muddy patch and grabbed Noah's arm with both hands. Noah caught him fast, steadying him by the waist before Tyler could go down. Careful, man. Tyler laughed, breathless. See? Boyfriend reflexes again. Mason made a kissing noise from the front of the group. Noah rolled his eyes, but he did not laugh the way he normally would. He looked back at me instead. I looked away. Stupid. 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 My brain immediately filled in the worst version of everything. Maybe last night had only felt big because it was dark and raining and we were trapped close together. Maybe Noah woke up and realized what he had said. Maybe now he was embarrassed. Maybe I was the mistake he was trying not to make obvious. I walked faster. The trail narrowed near a rocky turn, and I moved ahead of the group before anyone could talk to me. Bad idea. Mud slid under my shoe. My foot slipped out, and my whole body lurched sideways. Noah's hand caught my wrist before I even had time to fall. Ethan. His grip was firm. Too firm. Scared firm. I froze. One hand braced against a tree, his fingers wrapped around me like he had not forgotten anything at all. I am fine. You are not looking where you are going. I said I am fine. That came out sharper than I meant. Noah let go like I had burned him. His face changed. Not angry. Hurt again. I hated that look more than anything. The others caught up, loud and muddy, but Noah did not say another word until we reached the overlook. Everyone spread out to take pictures. I stood near the edge, hands shoved in my jacket pockets, heart still pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with almost falling. Noah came up beside me, leaving a few inches between us. Are you mad at me? His voice was quiet enough that only I could hear. I swallowed. No, then why do you keep acting like I did something wrong? I looked at him. Big mistake. His eyes were tired, careful, and way too honest. Because I do not know what this is. Noah's jaw moved slightly, like he had to hold back the first thing he wanted to say. Neither do I. That should have made me feel better. It did not. And what if we figure it out and it ruins everything? The wind moved between us. Cold. Sharp. Noah looked down at the valley, then back at me. I am scared of that too. My chest tightened. Before I could answer, Mason yelled for us to get in the group photo. Noah stepped away first. Just one step. But it felt bigger than it was. And when he smiled for the picture, shoulder almost touching mine, but not quite, I realized we were both pulling back now. Not because nothing was there, because there was too much. By the time we got back to camp, the sky had turned gray again. Not full rain yet, just that heavy, waiting kind of weather that made everyone move faster. Tyler wanted to pack early. Mason wanted one more night because, apparently, real men fear neither mud nor mildew. Cole just looked at the clouds and started rolling up his sleeping bag without asking permission. I kept busy. Too busy. I wiped down the cooler twice. Reorganized the food bin. Picked up empty cans that were not even mine. Anything that kept me from standing still long enough for Noah to catch me alone. He noticed. Of course he noticed. I felt him before I saw him, standing behind me while I pretended to untangle a rope. Ethan. My fingers froze around the knot. Yeah. Come here for a second. I am kind of busy. The rope slipped loose in my hands, proving I was not. Noah looked at it. Then at me. No smile. Please. That one word did it. Not because it was dramatic. Because Noah almost never sounded unsure. I followed him past the tents, down the little dirt path toward the lake where we had stood the night before. The same place where his hand almost held mine before Mason yelled. The same place where everything had started feeling less imaginary. He stopped near the water and turned around. The wind pushed his hoodie against his chest. His hair was messy under his cap. He looked tired. So did I, probably. I cannot do this all day, he said. My stomach tightened. Do what? Noah gave me a look. Not mean. Just done. That. I crossed my arms. I do not know what you want me to say. Something real. The words landed quietly, but they hit hard. I looked away first. Across the lake, the water moved in small, uneven ripples. My throat felt tight. I am trying not to mess everything up. By pretending nothing happened. By not making it worse. It is already worse. That made me look back. Noah's jaw was tight, but his eyes were not angry. They were scared. That almost hurt more. Last night was not nothing to me, he said, softer now. And this morning, you acted like I imagined it. I opened my mouth. Closed it. My hands curled into the sleeves of his hoodie. I was still wearing it. Somehow that made the whole thing worse. I thought you regretted it. Noah blinked. What? You were normal this morning. My voice cracked a little, and I hated that. You were laughing with Tyler. You were walking behind me like you did not know where to stand. I thought maybe the tent made everything feel bigger than it was. He stared at me for a second, then let out a breath that almost sounded like a broken laugh. I was walking behind you because I was trying not to reach for your hand in front of everyone. Everything in me went quiet. Noah looked down, rubbing the back of his neck. And I was laughing with Tyler because I did not know what else to do. I woke up next to you, and all I could think was, do not make Ethan uncomfortable. Do not ruin the trip. Do not ruin us. The words sat between us. Simple. Messy. Real. My chest hurt in a different way now. You are not ruining us. You do not know that. Neither do you. He looked at me then. Really looked. The air between us felt thinner than it should have. I took one step closer before I could talk myself out of it. I am scared, I admitted. Noah nodded slowly. Me too. I do not want to lose my best friend. His mouth softened. I do not either. A pause. Then he reached out, careful like last night, and touched the edge of my sleeve. Not my hand. Just the fabric. Like even that needed permission. But I also do not want to keep acting like wanting more makes me a bad friend. My breath caught. That was it. The thing neither of us had been brave enough to say. I looked down at his hand on my sleeve, then slowly turned my palm up. Noah went still. For 1 second, he did not move at all. Then his fingers slid into mine. Warm. Nervous. Real. No darkness to hide behind this time. No rain loud enough to cover it. Just us, standing by the lake in the middle of a camping trip that was supposed to help me get over him. I gave a small laugh because if I did not, I might say too much too fast. Mason is going to be unbearable. Noah's thumb moved once against mine. Mason was already unbearable. I finally looked at him. He was smiling a little now, but his eyes stayed serious. So what do we do? I asked. Noah looked toward the campsite, then back at our hands. He did not let go. We stopped lying to each other first. The answer was not a promise, not a label, not a perfect ending, but it was enough to make my chest loosen for the first time all morning. Then Tyler's voice carried through the trees. If you two are having another lake meeting, bring back the coffee pot. Noah closed his eyes like he was praying for patience. I laughed, and this time it did not feel fake. But when we walked back, our hands separated before the campsite came into view. Not because we were pretending nothing had happened, because now we both knew something had. The rain finally stopped while we were packing the cars. Not in some dramatic, movie-ending way. No sunlight breaking through the clouds right on cue. Just the soft drip of water sliding off pine needles, the smell of wet dirt, and Tyler complaining that his shoes would never emotionally recover. Normal stuff. Camping stuff. The kind of morning that should have felt like every other group trip ending too early and too messy. Except nothing felt normal anymore. Noah and I moved around each other carefully at first. Not distant. Just aware. Too aware. He handed me a rolled-up sleeping bag without looking like he was making a big deal out of it. I took it, our fingers brushing for half a second. This time, I did not flinch. Neither did he. His eyes lifted to mine, and there it was again. That quiet little look that said more than either of us could say with Mason 10 feet away, trying to shove a cooler into the trunk upside down. That is not how rectangles work, Cole muttered. Mason pointed at him. Do not bring geometry into this. I laughed, and Noah smiled at me like he had been waiting for that sound all morning. It made my chest warm in a way I did not know what to do with yet. After breakfast, we walked down to the lake for one last group photo because Tyler insisted the trip needed evidence. The water was gray and still, the shoreline muddy from the storm. Everyone looked exhausted. Hoodies, messy hair, tired eyes. Mason set his phone on a rock and ran back into frame, nearly slipping before Cole grabbed his backpack. If I die, Mason yelled, make the photo black and white. Nobody is honoring that, I told him. Noah came to stand beside me. Not too close at first. Habit, maybe. Fear, maybe. Then, just before the timer started flashing, his hand found mine behind our backs. Slow. Careful. A question. My heart kicked once hard. I looked at him. He was facing the camera, but his jaw was tense, like he was ready for me to pull away. I did not. I curled my fingers around his. The camera clicked, then clicked again. Nobody noticed at first. Or maybe Cole did, because after the second photo, his eyes dropped briefly, then lifted back to mine with the smallest smile. Not teasing, not surprised, just gentle, like he had known before we did. On the walk back, Noah kept his shoulder close to mine. Our hands were apart again, but it did not feel like hiding the same way. It felt like patience, like we were giving ourselves room to figure out what came next without running from what had already happened. Mason, unfortunately, had other plans. He was loading the last bag when he turned and squinted at us. Why do you two look less emotionally constipated today? Tyler choked on his coffee. Dude. Noah stared at Mason for a long second, then sighed. You are impossible. Thank you. I waited for Noah to make a joke. To dodge. To put us back in the safe little box where everything could still be explained away. Instead, he stepped beside me and nudged my hand with his. In front of everyone. Not a full announcement. Not some big dramatic reveal. Just enough. My breath caught. I looked down. His fingers brushed mine once, then stayed there. Mason's grin slowly changed. Oh, Tyler blinked between us. Wait. Actually, my face went hot, but Noah did not move away. So I did not either. We are figuring it out, Noah said. Simple. Calm. Real. Nobody made a joke for a second. Then Cole nodded like that was all he needed. Cool. Mason opened his mouth, probably to ruin the moment, but Tyler shoved a granola bar into it before he could speak. I laughed so hard I had to look away. Noah's hand was still against mine. Warm. Steady. After that, the ride home felt different. Same truck. Same highway. Same half-dead fries between us from a gas station 40 miles down the road. But when Noah reached into the bag, his pinky brushed mine, and neither of us pretended it was an accident. Halfway back to Denver, he looked over from the passenger seat, softer than I had ever seen him. You still scared? I kept my eyes on the road. Yeah. His hand rested palm up on the center console. Waiting. Me too. I glanced down, then slid my hand into his. No fireworks. No perfect speech. Just wet sneakers, cold coffee, tired friends asleep in the back seat of Tyler's truck ahead of us, and Noah holding my hand like it belonged there. I had spent the whole trip trying to get over him. Instead, somewhere between the fire, the rain, the lake, and the quiet choice to stop lying, my best friend became something more. And the strange part was, he still felt like my best friend. Only now, when his thumb moved gently over mine, I did not have to pretend it meant nothing.